Hello and welcome to Reginaldesq. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the German Tier 2 self-propelled gun, the G.Pz.Mk.VI in brackets E. So is it any good? I think it is. I think it is a very good Tier 2 self-propelled gun, but I have to be honest and say I hated playing in it. I only played 10 games in it. I have a 70% win rate, which doesn't mean anything after 10 games. But I thought I did really badly in it. But then I just had a quick look at the statistics and my damage ratio is 2.26 and my kill ratio is 1-to-1. So that's actually not bad. Better than I thought it was. So this looks a bit different to most of the other artillery for Tier 2. This one has a slow rate of fire and does massive damage. So I did actually, well, it's really hard to hit anything with this, and it has a slow rate of fire, so it's quite frustrating to play. But when you do hit somebody, you can one-shot them quite easily. So tanks of your tier, you can easily one-shot, and I think that's probably, if you enjoy one-shotting people, then this is probably, and you like Tier 2, this is probably the SPG for you. Now, I think the frustration I had was amplified because my crew was 80% trained, so they've only gone up 1% while I've played it. So yeah, I think it would be a fair bit more accurate, and of course it would reload more quickly and fire and aim more quickly with a trained crew, which would probably make it more satisfying to play. Speaking of that, we can see it's got a 2.12 rate of fire, so it only fires a couple of rounds per minute. So the reloads, what was it, 28.33 seconds. Now that would be quicker if my crew was fully trained, but not a lot quicker. The what else can we tell you about this? Aiming time of 6.82 is a long time at this tier. Fortunately though, players aren't that experienced at this tier, and you will get some people who will stand still. If people don't stand still, it's a really difficult tank to use because you pretty much have to hit what you're shooting at, because the splash radius on the ammo is very small. Actually, let's have a look at the splash radius. Splash burst radius is 1.92 meters. So you've got to either hit them or land like right next to them. 1.92 meters for our American friends. 1.86 is 6 feet. So it's about the equivalent of somebody being about 6'2" tall. If they were lying side onto your tank, then you have to hit within that to do any damage at all. So you have to hit pretty close, much closer than the higher tiers. And I guess not having a fully trained crew means the accuracy was down, which means that was a bit more frustrating than it probably needed to be. I did have a few games in this where I actually didn't hit anything. I think my first game is I didn't hit anything. Speaking of not hitting anything, the starting engine is awful. It takes like about a minute to turn the tank at 360. It's really bad. With the second engine on, it's a lot better, but it's still not a fast turning tank by any means. So that will be annoying until you get that. After that, it's all right. But yeah, it does hit hard. Anyway, that's probably enough about that. I had a camouflage net fitted. I didn't have anything else on it because I couldn't be bothered. But if you wanted to put a gun rammer and gun laying drive, that would probably be the best things to put on it to speed up the aiming time and loading time. That's about all I probably need to tell you. Let's have a look and compare it to the other ones so we can see how it compares. So here we are on the Tanks GG website, and at the top here the first tank we have is the one we are reviewing, which is the G.Pz. Then we have the English Lloyd gun carrier, we have the French FTBS, the Su-18, which I guess is Russian, the T1 HMC, which is American, and this T57, which, is it really artillery? It's a US as well, but anyway, I'll talk about that in a sec. So the DPM on them all, well, this one we're reviewing actually has the lowest DPM, and that's because it takes so long to reload. It does do the most damage though, and has the equal highest penetration of 27. This T57 also has 27. I'm a bit worried whether this is actually an artillery or not, this T57. Anyway, penetration of 27, which is higher than all these guys. It does 410 damage per shot, which is why you can one-shot tanks, whereas the others you can see at 165, 180, 175, and this thing 8. This is an artillery with a machine gun. Can't be artillery, really. It says artillery there, but I'm not sure if it's actually artillery. Never heard of an artillery with an 8 damage per shot machine gun on it before. So that might be. I might not talk about T-57 because I don't think that's right. Rate of fire 2.22, and you can see here, look, we've got 6.67, so it fires 3 times as quick. 7.69, 7.5, 6.7. So you can see they're much faster than the other 8. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that altogether. The others are much more quickly firing. Reload time, 27 seconds versus 9 seconds here. 8 seconds, 7.8 seconds. So you can see the difference. Explosion radius, we've got 1.91. Now the others are even worse. You've got 1.09 and 1.06. So the others you pretty much have to hit. This one we've got a little bit of play. The others really you just got to hit. The shell velocity on this one though is pretty quick at 380, which is the same as the T1 HMC. These other ones are slower, which does mean that if the tank is moving, it'll be harder to hit with the other one. So that is an advantage of this German one here. Ammo capacity only 15, which is much less than the others, but then you take so long to reload that you're probably not going to use them all anyway. Aim time 6.5 is very annoying, especially at tier 2. The other guys, we have 4.5 is the best, so yeah, quite annoying. Dispersion of 0.84 is the worst. You expect that with the gun that does the most damage. The best is 0.76 here on the Russian. What else can we say? Turret traverse doesn't really matter. Track traverse does matter. 0.58, and it is the worst. 0.24 here on the Russian, very quick at turning. That helps for aiming, but also if the enemy rushes at you towards the end of the game, having a quick traverse means you can turn and face them and maybe get a shot into them before they kill you. Whereas this tank, it takes so long to turn that you've got Buckleys pretty much. What else can we tell you about it? I'm not really going to get into that. Well, it's got 5 degrees of gun depression, which is handy once again if at the end of the game, if people are after you. If you've got a little bit of gun depression, that can be helpful. Forward speed 50 kilometers an hour, I would say that is fictitious. I don't know where you would ever get the chance to do 50 in it. Reverse speed of 12. So 50, it is the fastest of them all. I suppose if you get a big open plane, you want to zoom across, maybe if you need to run near the end of the game, it might be handy. But I never had it up to 50. And I think that's about all we need to say about it. Let's have a quick look at the armor and then get into a little bit of gameplay. I won't spend too long on the armour because it's only artillery and it's not like you're going to be going head up with anyone very often. 17.9 is useless, 16.6 is useless. Oh, that's not even the armour. It's 11 mils and 14 mils. So everything will go through that. The superstructure here, we've got 22 mils. You might bounce the odd shot off that, especially if it's angled. What's this? This is 11 mils of spaced armour over the top of 22 mils. So you also might bounce... We definitely probably will bounce some shots off that blue section if they aim at it. There's no armour in this green area here. The sides are 14 mils, the back here is 6 mils, and it's an open top tank destroyer. So if another artillery so if another artillery shoots at you and it hits the roof, you're pretty much dead. But yeah. Alright, let's get some gameplay happening. Alright, so we're on mines. There's only, I think, 12 tanks per side. There wasn't enough players. Now, this... You're pretty much going to get mines, or you're going to get Himmelsdorf. They're probably the maps you'll get most at Tier 2 in your SPG. Himmelsdorf, it's pretty much a write-off, whereas this map is great for artillery. So... I just move in this spot just here. I don't really see the point in moving back because the view range of most tier 2 tanks isn't that great. I think this next to me must be a tier... Is that the tier 3 German artillery that's trying to occupy the same spot as me? I hope it doesn't shoot me in the back. I pretty much get ready to pre-fire on this area if we spot something here like this. But really, shooting at moving tanks with this, I found, is pretty much a waste of time. You really, because you have to hit, like, see how close that landed? And it did no damage to that tank at all. And the stun mechanic, it appears like the stunning mechanic of artillery doesn't work at tier 2. I'm not sure what tier the stun mechanic becomes active, but it's not at tier 2. I never stunned a tank, so... Yeah, so the rapid firing accurate modifications which were made with the stun mechanic hasn't been made for these lower tiers. So it's a bit like old-fashioned playing the old arty, where hitting a target was really just tossing a coin. So trying to hit anything that's moving with this is really difficult. And because you've got no splash radius, it's pretty much a waste of time. So always try and fully aim and add a stationary tank. So we take a guess there, thinking the guy was going to sit behind the bush. Well, I reckon that distance we landed there, we probably didn't do any damage. You can see the other arty, which is a tier higher than me, landed pretty close to him and did 3 points of splash damage. So really hard to get damage without a direct hit. So what I'm doing now, because it takes so long to aim and there's no point shooting at moving tanks, I'm really just sitting here now hoping I can reload in time and someone will spot him. Now, I did fire, but I missed. It hit the rock. And that's what I find, and that's why I've only got one game to show you in this, because it's very frustrating to play and it's probably frustrating to watch, so I'm not going to put you through more than one game. Just do one game so you can see what it's like. But when we say it was, what was it, 2.2 something rounds a minute, and the other tanks, I think the next slowest one was about 6 point something a minute. So the other tanks fire 3 times faster than this one. So the other tanks are probably more fun to play insofar as, you know, you get more chances to hit. But the difference with this one is that when you hit, it hits really hard. It's a bit like the old days of artillery, where you just fire a lot, miss. It's all just down to luck, but if you hit someone, they just go boom. So can we get a shot on this guy here? We might be able to just nick him. He's staying stationary, which I like, so I think I will go for him. But I'm just waiting till I've completely aimed before I take a shot. Oh, he moved. So as far as I can tell, we've done no damage to anybody at all. And like I said, it's very frustrating. I did have some games where I think a couple of games at least, where I did no damage for the whole game. Just because I couldn't hit him. I think in both of those games, I think I fired 9 shots. And they all missed. So this guy, I haven't quite got the shell doesn't go quite high enough arc to reach that guy. On Himmelsdorf, I really didn't like. On Himmelsdorf, it doesn't seem to have a super high arc, this gun, and I really, most of the time, I just couldn't hit anyone. I ended up doing what I saw some other artillery doing, which is basically just going into tank destroyer mode and driving it like a tank destroyer and trying to get a hit in before your inevitable death, because it's just very hard to get any shots in. So I'm just going to fire at this guy when I think... There you go. So that guy was moving, but he's moving straight at me, and I didn't have a choice because he was going to blow my cover here. So I just took the shot, and it actually hit him. Actually, I think it landed a bit short of where we aimed, but luckily just slammed straight into him. But you can see 186. I think that was pretty close to his full hit points. I don't know if he was a tier 3 or a tier 2 tank, actually. 186 hit points. That sounds too high. Most tier 2 tanks have about 160 hit points, so I think he would have been a tier 3 tank, and he probably had already taken a little bit of damage. But that's the thing with this. You can be having a terrible game, get one shot like that, and now you're probably going to finish middle rankings from one shot. If we hit this guy, we'll probably finish, you know, really well. 33 points. It was a near miss. Pretty close though. And the thing with such a small splash radius, it's actually the best splash radius at tier 2, but I had a couple where they actually said near miss, but I still didn't do any damage. Well, somebody else has managed to eliminate him. So the enemy team, oh, you can't see the tanks. This keeps happening. That's better. So the enemy team has a T-29. I think is that the premium one? Panzerjag 1, light tank version 35, and another artillery the same as us. So they've got another artillery exact same as us. So I'm letting this guy know that I'm taking a shot by hitting the T key, which puts the little arrows down that players can see, and we hit him, 65. So was he their artillery? No, how come he only had 65 hit points? He must have been like a tier 2 tank destroyer or something, was he? Was that his full health? I think it was only 65. So yeah, always in case you're new to artillery, because if you're watching a review of Tier 2 artillery, you might be new. If you highlight the tank like that and press the T key, it lets your players know that, see those down arrows coming down? You can see them when you're driving your tank as well. And you'll see the down arrows and go, oh, artillery's about to shoot at this guy, so don't get too close. It's at this tier, it's probably not that big a deal unless they miss and actually hit you. But at higher tiers where they have quite a big splash radius, like Tier 10 can have up to 14 meters of splash radius, then you want to probably back off when you see those arrows coming down, so you don't get team killed or team damaged. If you press the T key just like on the open ground, it'll put like markers on the ground that also let your team know that you're hitting the ground in that area, which is useful if you're just going to hit a bush or something and you know that your teammates are going to be in the area. It's going to be hard to hit a moving tank. We'll have a shot, just trying to anticipate his movements and the time it will take my shot to get there, and it fell well short anyway. If you're not fully aimed, you've pretty much got Buckleys of hitting anywhere near what you're after. So I'm just pre-aiming here, but this guy's not dead yet, which I thought he'd be dead already. Actually, he's the last tank. Oh, game over. Alright, so let's have a look at the stats then. So believe it or not, that was a Class 1 game, which shows you the tank isn't great, and it looks like my tank wasn't fully upgraded, so I didn't have the tracks or the engine or anything in there, so in that particular game, because I just noticed here it says they're researched. So yeah, it turned out to be a Class 1, so there you go. It can't be a very popular tank if that's a Class 1. 284 points of damage we did. We finished about 4th on our team, so it just goes to show you, doesn't it? Actually, how many tanks did we hit? We hit 3 tanks. That's it. But 2 of them we killed. So 9 shots fired, 1 direct hit, and 3 splash damage, for a total of 284 damage. And hit 3 or damaged 3, destroyed 2, made good money out of it, and there you go. So a very boring tank to play, but probably a pretty good TD for its tier, but it's frustrating as heck to play. Thank you for watching my review of the, what's it called again? G.Pz.Mk.VI. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to Reginaldesq. Have fun.